Well, I have. I've been wondering since I was a kid. My name is Reuben Langdon, and on March 29th, 2007, in the middle of the day, I saw a number of strange objects in the sky. Coincidentally, I was working on the film Avatar at the time, playing an alien. And ever since then, I've been on a quest. A quest to find out if aliens really do exist, and if so, are they here with us? If beings of higher intelligence are here, what is their purpose? Why don't they make themselves more known? Why the secrecy? I've asked these questions to many experts, yet each seems to have a different theory. So I thought to myself, why not ask the aliens directly? So that's what I set out to do. Well, sort of.
All right, well, Shaun, thanks for being here.
Okay, well, thanks for the invitation. It's wonderful to be here. This is an amazing place.
We've been talking about doing this for a while.
Yeah, we got together here.
And you're mostly based in Hawaii?
Yeah, out in Maui.
Okay.
For the last 10 years, mostly. I love it there. Yeah. And I have family here in California, up in Santa Cruz and down in Laguna. So I still have, in a sense, I have one foot in California.
Okay.
And most of my other foot in Maui.
Right. Well, you get an excuse to come back to the mainland every now and then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll just end up being over there forever because it's like paradise.
Yeah, yeah.
What, later we're going to get into some channeling, but what got you into channeling and this sort of wacky world we're in, where we make contact with these other beings?
Yeah, you know, it's something I just, it snuck up on me. I didn't know that channeling was something people did until maybe just a few months before I started channeling. As far as I can recall, you know, it's something I realized that channeling, I've had many steps along the way. And it's something that as time goes forward, steps that I've taken in the past come to my awareness. Oh, that was one of those things that helped get me to where I am in channeling, and I don't. So I'm not aware right now. I don't remember everything in the past, all the steps. But I, of course, realize now that I've had been with primarily I channel Ishuwa of the Yayel civilization, channel a group of friends. Initially, they came through. Group of friends came through initially in terms of giving a name.
Oh, that's the name they gave you.
And that was back around 1995.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and that was the name. And they were like, you know, we can give you other names of those that are part of the group of friends. And I realized there's a lot of names. And okay, do I want to try and remember all these different names? And it was like, you know, they were like, no, group of friends is good. So they came through with Gilgamesh. So that was one they really wanted me to know about. Gilgamesh.
Why do I know that name? What's Gilgamesh?
Well, there is one of the older stories in history that's been recorded is the story of Gilgamesh. So there is some connection to the Gilgamesh that I am channeling to these stories.
Oh, okay.
There is some connection, but it's not a literal. It's not the exact person per se that these stories were written about.
And what is that story? Roughly,
He was like my understanding is he was like a king, and at one point he gave that up to look for immortality, and that's my understanding of that story. I haven't really delved into it at length.
So kind of an ascended master kind of idea.
Ascended master. Well, in my sense, he was a physical being. The idea in the story is, and that's just how I understand how the story is written. And then the person, as far as the Gilgamesh that I am connecting to, was alive, did have a physical lifetime on Earth several thousand years ago. Let's say approximately 13,000 years ago, 13,000 years ago, right in that area. And so I had a connection in a physical lifetime with Gilgamesh too. So that's one of the reasons I have a strong connection, having lived in that lifetime. You know, we were good friends in that lifetime. And so he was one of the first ones, with a group of friends and Gilgamesh.
Oh, okay, so they were together.
And I had many synchronicities and when his name came through that occurred. I had been channeling a group of friends, and then there was obviously a more focused consciousness, and I hadn't received a name yet. And I was in a channeling class at the time, which I was about once a week for a year. I had already started channeling by this time. I got into the channeling class because I wanted to become more comfortable channeling in front of other people.
Right.
So for a year in this class, I almost never channeled when it came around for my turn to channel.
Oh, wow.
I almost never channeled. And there were other people who were not channeling at all yet. It was all very new to them. Whereas if I had a friend or two back at my house or at their house, okay, I'm channeling nonstop. And so I'm recording channelings at this point. I used to write questions down. And then I would go into the channeling state, and I would just open my eyes. I would see one of the questions, and that would engage an answer, would come through, and I had it recorded. And so then I could go back after I came out of the channeling state and listen to the recording, and I knew which question was being answered. And so having done that, when I got into this class, it was always interesting. I got in there so I could channel for people, and it wasn't happening that way.
Fear factor.
But I was also learning how it could be taught.
Okay.
And that was very fascinating to me to learn, because it was a very good teacher there. And also I was learning, experiencing other people learning to channel. And that was fantastic experience to be a part of that. Because for me, channeling came very fast, it came very easy. And I had only just learned that it was something people did just a short time before I started doing it. And so one of those classes, one of the students had been channeling for many years and would come to the class because she enjoyed being around other people who were doing channeling, learning to channel. She brought a painting in that had been, it turns out it had been painted in a channeling process by Luis Gasparetto, who was a healer from Brazil. And he's been up in the area in Southern California for a while, and he would do channeling sessions where he paints the master painters, in a sense, people like Picasso and Modigliani and Monet. And he, in a sense, kind of closes his eyes, or he doesn't really pay attention to the canvas, and he has all of these acrylics paints, and he just kind of goes about it in a very fast, and he puts together these images of faces of and people, portraits, in a sense, and different ones look like they were painted by a different master painter, like a Picasso or Monet or Modigliani. And so one of those, this woman brought one in, and she was all excited about it, and I had just started channeling. I had received message like the night before that I'm channeling this person named Gilgamesh, and she brings this painting in the next day to class and goes, "Look at this, Luis Gasparetto channeling this," and I just got it, and it's of this of Gilgamesh, and the people in the class were like, "Whoa, Gilgamesh!" And I'm like, "What? I've never heard of Gilgamesh before." And most of them knew who it was.
They knew the story.
They really knew the story and the history behind that name, and they were all excited about it. I'm like, "Whoa!" I just got the name for this person yesterday. Wow. Here's the painting, and so it was. We were also doing some other things that came through in the next class or two, where the group of us were. We were channeling letters, one letter at a time, and one person would write the letters down. And one of the beings that we're channeling came through as Gilgamesh. Oh, okay. So all these things came through like that. Yeah. So it was this real synchronistic. And so for me, the unfolding and experience of that was a wonderful. Sure. It was to go through that. And so. And
when did you start channeling the Yayel?
Well, so Ishuwa, of course I've realized now I've been with Ishuwa, since before I was born. But when he came through, I hadn't been aware of that. So I had been to a channeling back around 2006, I believe. It might have been 2007. And I went home that night, and I went into my own channeling time. And
and by this time you were already channeling a group of friends and...
So this was 2006, 2007. So I had been channeling for, I started in 95, so this was over 10 years now that I had been channeling. And I had been doing, for more for people and groups here and there and individuals. And so I had been bringing through a group of friends, a Gilgamesh, and a few other names that I had connected with. And so there I was channeling a group of friends. It was like the night after I'd been it might have been the same night, actually, that I came back. It might have been the next night. I don't recall the exact. And it was a group of friends said, "So we have a group of beings here that would like to talk to you. They'd like to kind of have just this get together if you're interested." And I'm thinking, well, okay. And I had some discussion with my group of friends. So what are they about? What are they interested in? And there was a very cohesive interest and connection of spirit and of direction and of interest in life, to share and to uplift and to bring about healing and bring about information that would be very useful for people in a very positive and self-empowering way. And I thought, well, that sounds like a group I'm interested in talking to them. Yeah. Let's just sit down. And that was all it was. They're just gonna, and in channeling, I'm gonna have this. So the next night at the appointed hour, I sat down and got in my channeling state, connected to a group of friends, and then they acted to connect this other extraterrestrial group, and didn't say anything about who it was. And so I was connecting with them through the assistance of the energy of a group of friends and Gilgamesh. And so through that conversation and connection, there was obviously a very powerful, uplifting communication and connection for me and for them. And so I agreed to, the idea was, would you like to channel one of our, someone from our civilization and share some of our, what we're about with your civilization, with people there who are interested. And it just seemed like a great fit. I was really excited, it felt great. So I said, sure. And then there was, okay, so, and then they kind of step back a little bit in group of friends, and here then they say are some exercises for you to do, right? So I might have been channeling over 10 years. Some exercises to do to make this connection a little more, just to strengthen this connection with the with this extraterrestrial civilization. And I said, okay. So for maybe 6 to 8 months, I was doing these exercises regularly. Wow. And it was, some of it was new to me because I had taken some channeling classes and I had encountered a variety of exercises for channeling. and some of it I was familiar with, but I kept doing it, and it was very easy, very simple, but it was new for me, and it was opening me up to different vibrations to connect more with them, and it made it easier for them to connect to me. And then at that point, shortly after that, I actually moved. That was when I was in California. I was down in the Laguna area in Southern California. I moved to Maui, and I kept doing it. And then I had the opportunity once was one of the exercises that I had been doing. I started to bring through sounds, and the first sound was I, and that went on for a couple of minutes, you know, and I'm after that, you know, and that goes on for a couple of minutes. So I've got I and and I'm like, I don't know where this is going.
Right.
I don't know. It's just an exercise. It's another exercise for me. Yeah. And then it gets, you know, ooh and wah. We go through it all the way, and then it starts going I, shoo, wah, and then that goes on for a couple of minutes like that.
Wow.
And then it's Ishuwa, and then I realize, you know, it comes through for me. It's a name.
Right.
And then I understood at that point there was a name coming through in a consciousness. So.
And then what was that? When did it?
That was around early 2009, I believe. Yeah.
And that, well, before.
It might have been 2008. I think it was 2009.
Had you heard of the Yayel prior to that, or?
Let's see. Oh, I would have. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when they identified themselves as the Yayel, you kind of had a reference point for that, or?
Yeah. But at the same time, the energy was so familiar to me.
Oh, okay.
It was so at home to me.
All right.
It was like this whole process, I was stepping more into my place, my energy, my vibration. All of those exercises and the channeling I had done before and all the steps I had done, it was all moving me into that feeling of being more into that frequency, that vibration of the reality that is their place, that is their vibration. And it's more where I'm from, in a sense.
So it felt good to go through these exercises.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
I always loved the exercises. That's the only reason I kept doing it, is because it felt, you know, and it was, and I knew it was effective, and it was empowering, strengthening my energetic state of being.
Yeah.
And so, so it was just really who I am.
I see. When did you make that connection that it was?
I can't remember if there was. It's the strongest memory and sensation I have was I'm more in who I am. I'm bringing about more of who I am. In the other lifetimes, as a Yayel myself, concurrently Ishuwa is me, in a sense, like a parallel me.
Right.
And so I'm tuning more into that aspect of me and feeling more of that where I'm moving in my future in this life, to bring through more of that, who they are, in the sense of connected to the state of unconditional love, of supporting one another, of continual support for themselves and others, and being supported continually by others who support themselves continuously. And feeling that, because there is no limit to how that can feel. The varieties of ways that this can be experienced, there's not a limit. And so it just opens up to me more and more the ways, these unlimited ways that I feel this and experience this. So it was just more like coming home.
Yeah.
As his name comes through.
Yeah.
And as I know, it's the Yayel, and it doesn't seem like something that somebody else is talking about. It seems like this is my home. It seems like it's here within me, in a sense.
Are we moving as a collective closer to that energy, you think, and there's going to be more contact with the civilization?
In my understanding, yes.
Okay.
And so there's a lot, for some people, more healing that they will encounter within themselves and within their experience of life and their daily life, what they see with their friends and family and in the news. Others are very close. And of course, as you mentioned, more people are channeling Yayel, which is it's a gift for me. I love having more people doing this. So we have opportunities to come together like we did in Berlin.
Right, with Wiedeke.
With Wiedeke and and with Simon and with Susanna. The four
and are
of us.
they're also Yayel channelers?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and each has a wonderful personality.
Yeah.
And they're at different levels of their evolving with bringing through their connection to their channels.
Okay.
Some of them it's more recent.
Right.
And
I should ask that, where in the density spectrum and whatnot is Ishuwa at?
Yeah, in the book Avatars of the Phoenix Lights, where it's where Jefferson Viscardi is interviewing Ishuwa and asking him many questions.
Oh, okay.
It's like 12 chapters, 12 different, basically 1 hour channelings that I stepped aside so Jefferson could interview Ishuwa. And that's in there somewhere. It was like 5th and 6th conscious dimensions where they're talking about density or levels of, and for me, the number isn't something that I'm interested in. And so I think he has a hard time really getting it through.
I see.
But at the same time, he says there are multi-dimensions.
Sure.
And it's important for us not to get focused on one or where we are or where they are.
Right.
At this moment, the information he's sharing is so multi-dimensional in the way it can come through for us and activate us in our current dimension and densities, whatever we perceive ourselves to be at, so we can access more dimensions and densities simultaneously.
Right. Yeah.
And give us more flexibility to move about, because they can move about quite a bit in terms of where they're at in those ideas of 5th or 6th dimension or density. So it isn't.
Well, what I've been learning is that all these energies, even though they may be the same, like you said, Yayel. There's several Yayel channelers now, but they're at different states of evolution. Same with Pleiades. There's some people are channeling earlier era Pleiadian beings. Some are channeling later collectives. So when we start having these detailed, the human monkey mind wants to piece it all together and like, oh, this is this and this fits here. But from doing these interviews, I've sort of realized.
Okay, so I understand your question. Okay,
so
I rarely get a question that's specific. So I understand what you asked. Yeah. So there are different timelines that the different Earth-human channels are bringing through of the Yayel consciousnesses.
Yeah, it seems like that. Yeah, that's the case.
This is the case. As I have been channeling Ishuwa longer, I've come to know the information originally was an idea that perhaps the Yayel had evolved from Earth humans. Okay. And then I have since gathered more information, and there are some timelines perhaps in our future where some of them could be like descendants of ours, but they also have had DNA from Yayel way in our past. And our Earth-human past. So they can be simultaneously, in a sense, having some DNA from us, and in that sense, that aspect of their DNA, they were like children of ours, while at the same time they have DNA from their Yayel that are even forefathers to us, in a sense. They came before us, in a sense. So simultaneously, they can be our children and our fathers, our mothers, and simultaneously.
Depending on which timeline we're interacting with, there's Yayel from our future and from our past.
Yeah, and some of them might think of themselves as children of Earth humans, and others like parents.
So, wow, that's fascinating.
So it jumps around.
I never.
Yeah. It was a little bit first one.
I saw I think I saw one of your recent channelings, and it did kind of throw me off. I'm like, wait, is he talking about the Anunnaki kind of thing? And maybe I'll get into that with you. I show a little bit.
So the idea is where it's at now, in my understanding, because I'm sure it can change as more information comes through, not just from me, from other people. The idea is that there was a time when Earth humans, like us, and the Yayel, like Ishuwa that I channel, were of the same one civilization, living together. And then a group of them went out into space, in a sense, to explore new worlds.
Right.
Almost like the beginning of Star Trek, in a sense, to explore strange new worlds on a 5-year mission.
Right.
But they weren't on a 5-year mission. It was, we're going to go.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Wow.
We're probably never going to see you again. It was that kind of a departure.
Wow.
It wasn't a short-term, 3, 4, 5-year kind of a thing. And so in that kind of moving out, there has been a great deal of evolution from those Yahyel into other species, in a sense, or hybridization is immense at this point. And so the idea for me isn't to get to know all the different levels of hybridization, but to connect with the ones that are most relevant to where we are in our evolution at this point in time, that are going to be most fulfilling and fun for us to learn from and to grow with. And so then that is some of the extraterrestrials that we have some different contact with through different channels or in various physical contacts may or may not have some of that Yahyel DNA, but every Earth human has some of this DNA from that original period of time when there was the Yahyel and Earth humans were of the same one civilization.
Yeah.
So there is this point of instantaneous knowingness and contact through that aspect of the DNA. We all on Earth have this instant contact potential and to that place in the Yahyel timeline where we and they were one. And so that family beingness and togetherness and connectedness that was then exists in the DNA of every Earth human. And most of us perhaps in many different ways have discovered ways to not even acknowledge that, to not even know this.
Right.
And then, but some of us, without knowing it, have activated it and are streaming some of that information back and forth with them, without perhaps maybe even realizing that's what's going on.
Yeah, it seems the more I dig into these interviews and getting more information and have a better understanding of how all this works, then more it's like another shocker information. But that really just massages my brain to say, get out of your linear thinking, because anything is possible, really. And if feel these contact specialists like Ishuwa and the Palladians and all these different energies that are interacting with humanity now and more are coming through, seem to be here and they're only giving us the nuggets we can handle at that time. Like if I had this information that I have now, 2 years ago, I couldn't digest it. I would probably walk away from it because it would be my mind just couldn't handle it. But now I can, I can see that. I see how that works now, and I'm able to, I can connect the dots even though it's all right now, really, that's the ultimate thing. But what you just said makes sense, actually. I think most people are probably watching this like, what? How is that? We'll explain it later. But cool. No, that makes, I think my monkey mind's wrapping around it a little bit. Yeah.
So we all have this treasure trove of experiences and knowledge and understanding and types and ways of relation and behavior and being and living and experiencing life and knowingness in our DNA as it comes from how we were with them and as they still do live in that experience, that way of co-creating together, experiencing life together. So therefore, because we all on Earth have it in our DNA, we're all capable of accessing it and having it activated. The more each of us is open to knowing this is possible and willing and able to accept that and not looking at it as an alien idea or an alien entity within them, it's easier to open up and just say, well, if it's so, let the positive attributes of this come into my being and strengthen me in a very enlightening, self-realizational way. The more people are willing to do that, the more then, because what we put out is what we get back, the more we can get back experiencing the awakening of that.
That's sort of what I've been noticing going down this rabbit hole of interviewing, what I first was calling ETs, and then I changed the name of the series to Extra-Dimensionals because that was sort of that's
great.
But now as we're even going deeper into that, it's almost not even it is us. It is these are all permission slips. These interactions with these other beings are permission slips to gather information to expand our own consciousness. That's just us anyways. Ultimately, that's what the rabbit hole I'm going down. And it seems, especially the last Ishuwa message I listened to, it just seems like that's the message that they're trying to tell us. It's like, it's all you. We're just, but we have this great mechanism of channeling. We have this great permission slip to access this information in this way. And I'm sure there's a million other different ways to do this, Tibetan monks, Lee in here with his tarot cards and all this, there's so many different ways.
Art, music, stories.
Yeah, it's all there. This is just one, for me it's like a laser focus way to really get it and digest it and unwrap your present in this fun, exciting method we call channeling. But
wonderful.
Yeah, it's deep, going down the rabbit hole deeper and deeper. And
yeah, it's all us.
Yeah.
They are us, they are me, they are you, from that perspective of experience. And the coming together and realizing more of that and give us opportunity to have experiences that can be really enjoyable and fascinating.
It's exciting. I mean, I feel this is the greatest show on the planet. I can't even go to the movie theater anymore because I watch the movies and I'm like, that's boring. This, like what we're embarking on as a society and the human race and, these individual conversations and the contact experiences people are having, there's no greater show, and you can't write a better story. It's like, it's beyond what our greatest writers and imaginations can even imagine, it seems. I don't know if you feel the same way.
It's fascinating, and it's thrilling, and it's rather than being a member in the audience watching the movie, we are the characters.
Yeah.
This is the stage.
Yes.
And then we're all interacting as the producers, the writers.
Right.
Our eyes are like the cameras, and of each other, each person's experience, and so we are all living a role in this expanding play as it unfolds, and we all have the right and the ability, without a doubt, each of us has the right and the ability to go through this experience in a way that is absolutely fantastically enjoyable.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be frightening, it doesn't have to be a struggle, it doesn't have to be depressing, it doesn't have to be scary.
Right.
That is just one choice.
Exactly.
The choice to be exciting and for it to be really thrilling and enlivening and refreshing, moment to moment new, not getting boring.
Right.
Each of us can choose that, and by putting out the choice to choose that, we then get back experiencing that path.
Yeah.
Both paths exist, the frightening, scary one or the fun, fulfilling one.
Right.
Choose the one you prefer. Know that you have the choice, and then put out the direction that you prefer to have this unfold upon.
Yeah, it's kind of like you kind of have to be the actor and the watcher at the same time. It's not one or the other.
Acting in your audience all at once.
Right. You're writing the script and you're playing the part simultaneously, right? And that's and it's nice to sort of sit back and go to the theater and watch the screen for a minute. I think that's what we do when we go to sleep. But then it's also to have the realization that you're writing the story. There's so much empowerment in that, and you can write any story you want, really, and that's a lot of fun too. So, as a filmmaker, as an actor, I think it's easier to grasp some of these concepts.
And sometimes if you have a couple different stories and you can only get one out, well, which one? Well, someone else can write that other story and experience it for you, because that is you being experienced through them, which is you. From that other perspective, seemingly it's another person, but it's you. And the more we open up to that, the more you can experience the other person and having that story, choosing that story.
Right.
You can choose this one. The other one you really like, they'll choose it. You can experience yours, and through them, theirs, because they are you.
Yeah.
And then, well, you can get a lot of scripts and stories
7
coming
billion stories on this
simultaneously.
planet. 7 billion different movies going at the same time.
Yeah.
and a whole lot of flavors in all of it.
Yeah.
Some of it's fun for me and you, and it's not. Let them have those stories. You know?
Just have the intention for me. It is to choose the ones that are going to be most applicable and supportive and fulfilling from my perspective of the unfoldment.
Absolutely.
As how I perceive myself as part of the one that is the all, that is the infinite, that is the one, that is the all, that I am, that you are, that we are.
Absolutely. Yeah, probably later we'll get in with Ishuwa. I kind of want to go over those.
And this is information that's been talked on this planet for, it's been around for thousands of years. Just the vocabulary has been different. The way we speak had been different in different times. But there's been other human beings on this planet who've shared this information in their own time, in their own way before. I find at this timing, this way, for me, it's very easy to understand these ideas of the nature of existence. And yet, having said how easy it is, I do recall having spent a couple of years immersing myself in them. And it took me a couple of years of living with them to, in a sense, tasting of the pudding, to see, the proof is in the tasting of the pudding. And through a couple of years of really integrating them and testing them in my own experience, they have come through and confirmed themselves again and again and again. And in doing that, I become more aware of what they are, and I see them more in my life every day. And yet, so they're easy for me, having gone through that. But when I can share them with someone else for the first time, sometimes they just, what?
That simple?
They don't get it.
Yeah.
And some people just jump up and down. They're so excited to hear it. It's just amazing. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And still there's other people. Okay, I'm gonna go get something out of the fridge. You want me to get you something to drink? It's like it's just not the time for that for them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've been sort of reminding myself of the four laws all the time, and it's just when you are able to live it in the past couple of years, it
makes a huge difference.
It's what a difference.
Yeah. To be mindful of that.
Yeah, and it's for me too. I feel like I'm a living proof of that. Living by those concepts and those ideas, and
we exist here and now.
Yeah.
The one is the all is the one. What we put out is what we get back, and everything changes except those initial ideas there. And what you put out is what you get back. And for me, it's what I put within. What I put within myself as food in terms of consciousness, my beliefs, my definitions, and my experiences, my attitudes. What I put within myself is the reality I live within.
Yeah.
It's another way to say what you put out is what you get back.
Yeah.
What I put in is the reality I live within.
You are what you eat.
Yeah.
That's another way to say it.
And I experience what I consume, whether it's food or it's consciousness and thoughts and beliefs, energies, emotions. It's those simple ideas, working with those and allowing the infinite knowledge that is contained with each one of them to meld and through my awareness in more and more ways, because there's not a limit to the ways I can understand them and experience them. It's just fascinating. It just opens so many more doors of just relaxing more and more with my life, wherever I am in the physical, whatever's going on around me in the physical life, and to feel more sense of infinite structure and support and love from existence itself. So when I put out my understanding of existence more, it finds more ways to support me.
Yeah.
And again, what I put within is what I live within. What I put out is what I get back in that sense. So
I agree. Well, should we take a little break and then get into some channeling later?
Sure.
All right.